We've been trying to get to a new, different, and better experience of life since 2020, which many of you would know if you've been watching my videos. However, it's been a little bit difficult to do over the course of the past 5 years, but that started to change in April of this year, 2025. At that time, we started to adopt different behaviors that were based more on our true heart and authentic self in order to move us forward, which would actually work this time. Because if we want a different life, we have to act and behave in a different way. Well, as of a few weeks ago, around June and July, these new behaviors that we adopted in April finally started to work, to manifest good things and get our foot in the door, perhaps unexpectedly, to a new and better experience. But once that happened, we then struggled to actually move these good things that were happening forward and to make them even bigger. That is because, in my opinion, we still weren't identifying with this new and better experience that was happening, enjoying it enough, and having the courage that we needed to take the next step, because everything that happens externally must first be created internally. Well, as of this full moon in Aquarius, for which this video is for, we finally start to identify with this new experience that started to arrive around June or July, to have fun with it and to get the courage to take the next step. We also get major unexpected insights about how exactly to do that, which this time is finally going to work to move us forward and to fix anything from the past few years that has been stuck and to get it unstuck. This is very, very good. However, we still have to put these insights into action in order to get unstuck, in order to move forward, which is going to take time. I think a few more weeks in order to, after this point, in order to do that we're still going to have to take the steps for. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm your astrologer, Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, helping you to see the larger story of your life. Today, you're watching the video for the full moon in Aquarius on Saturday, August 9th, 2025, which occurs at 3:55 a.m. Eastern time or 12:55 a.m. Pacific time. Now, let's go ahead and let's hop right into it. In order to get started, what I like to do first is to place on the chart what it is that I'm referring to in this video so that you can see it and follow along with me. So let me do that now. This video is for that full moon in Aquarius. Because of that, I have adjusted my chart accordingly for that lunar event. I know that the chart is set for that because I've got the moon here in Aquarius, making an exact opposition over here with the sun in Leo. And when the moon opposes the sun, that is what is considered a full moon, and it's in Aquarius because that's where the moon is, particularly in this alignment. Okay, so that's what we're going to be talking about here. Now, what I like to do next is to give you just the general themes of what we might be working out at this time. To do that, I like to explain what a full moon is. Full moons are halfway through the lunar cycle or the lunar month, which started at the new moon. Because of that, they do indicate stepping into things that we've been working on for a while, completing those things or bringing them to a fulfillment, especially because that is when the moon is the furthest from the sun in the zodiac. And not only are full moons about stepping into things, finishing things, bringing them to completion or fulfillment, but because that is also when the moon is the brightest in the sky, to me also too, it can be a time of insight or of revelation, where something is coming to light that maybe we did not see before. Not only that, but because a full moon is a function of an opposition, right? And it's hard to do two opposite things at once. Full moons also do tend to be a time of decisions, needing to make some sort of decision about how best to proceed, especially based on the things that we are completing, right? To bring them to completion or based on the insights that it is that we are getting. Hey, now what exactly is it that we are stepping into, completing, bringing to fulfillment, getting insights about, or making decisions on possibly? Well, that is going to be Aquarius because that is the sign that the full moon is in. What is Aquarius about? Well, Aquarius is an air sign. Air signs are more in the realm of the mind, our thoughts, our ideas, things of that sort, or our perspective on life, kind of getting that in a different, better place that it is that we might need. So that's one of the things that I think is happening at this full moon in Aquarius, is that we're stepping into different ideas, different thoughts, different mindset, a better mindset, or getting insights about our ideas, about our thoughts, about our mindset that might be helpful to us, and maybe having to make decisions about which ideas to pursue or to follow. Not only that, but I also want to note as well that I consider Aquarius to be very solutions oriented as well. Solutions, sure, because, Aquarius is an air sign, which has to do with ideas, but it also tends to be a bit of a sign that indicates things are unique or that are a bit unusual. So these tend to be unique ideas or unusual ideas, which to me can indicate solutions, more solutions oriented, or that can be more helpful to us. So not only at this full moon in Aquarius do I think that we're kind of stepping into maybe different ideas, a different mindset of sorts, or getting enlightened to new ideas and thoughts that we might have to make decisions on about which ones to pursue. But I think as well that those ideas that we're getting are unusual or unique or different, maybe things we hadn't considered before, or are more solutions oriented to help us fix things, right? A solution helps us to fix things in our lives that may have been hard for us. Not only that, but I also want to note as well that Aquarius is also about breaking free from things as well. And piggybacking off the solutions idea, because Aquarius also has to do with revolutions, with liberation from things that have been holding us back. So not only do I think that this full moon in Aquarius is about us stepping into new ideas, new thoughts, getting in the enlightenment about that, about our perspective and ideas we might have to make decisions about, and these ideas being unusual and more solutions oriented, but they're also going to help us to fix and break free from anything that has been keeping us stuck, which usually is like a past energy, or usually is things from the past that are keeping us stuck here so that we can overcome that. And not only that, but I also want to note as well that the nature of Aquarius, especially being correlated to the planet of Uranus, can also be a bit unexpected as well. Things that we didn't see coming or maybe didn't plan for as well. So in addition to us getting, a lot of ideas at this time, significant ideas that may be coming into our consciousness that we may need to make decisions about that are unusual, solutions oriented to help us break free from things from the past that have been keeping us stuck, but they may come unexpectedly too, out of nowhere. We didn't see these things coming, these different ideas and solutions that it is that we're getting. Not only that, but I also want to note too that Aquarius has a lot to do with authenticity, things that are more authentic to our true self and to who we are, to our path. And that resonates more with that. So not only are these ideas that we're getting kind of unique, unexpected solutions to help us break free from things that are keeping us stuck, but they're also ideas that are going to help us align with a more authentic version of ourselves and to live a more authentic and aligned lifestyle. In addition to that, I think the last thing I'll mention is that Aquarius is also very future oriented and very goal oriented because of that, because it's, unusual, because it's in the mind, because it doesn't like to be stuck in things from the past and wants to break free with those. So it tends to be more future oriented as well. And so this could also be helping us to step into a very different idea of our future and of what that looks like, and a better idea of our future that's more authentic to us as a result of these unique ideas and solutions that it is that we're getting as well. In addition to that, one thing just came to me. I suppose I should also mention too, I tend to see like life as an inner journey, but I should also note too that Aquarius does have to do with friends, groups of people, social networks that we might identify with as well. So this can also too be insights that maybe some of you are getting about that, about your friend group or your social networks and where you fit into that, or maybe how to fix some things in regards to that, or break free from some things with friend groups that aren't serving you as well, so that you can align more with your authentic self and create that better future too. So that to me are the main themes of this full moon in Aquarius. Just to repeat that, because that's my thing. If you're new here, that's what I like to do. What is going on at this full moon in Aquarius, the general theme is that we, I think, are stepping into a lot of very unusual ideas about our life unexpectedly that are more solutions oriented, that are going to help us to break free from anything from the past that's been keeping us stuck, and to fix those so that we can create a more authentic lifestyle for ourselves now and in the future that's going to serve our highest good, be better for our goals. And we may also be adjusting our friend groups or social networks and fixing anything with them as well in order to get us there. Okay. And we might need to make some decisions about that too, about all of those things and the solutions we're going to follow and what ideas in order to bring more things together in our life. Okay, that's it. Because that's all I'm going to say now in terms of the general themes of this full moon in Aquarius. What I like to do next is to take a minute to go backwards in time before I go forwards and focus more specifically on this full moon. And the reason why I like to go backwards in time is because there's a full moon in Aquarius every single year around this time. That's not really that unique, to be honest. What makes each moon or lunation different, I think the most different from one year to the next, is not the fact that if the full moon itself, it's the alignments that happen around it and that come before it, especially as it regards to the outer planets and eclipses and other things. So I like to go back in time before I move forward to give you more of the context and discuss some of those other alignments going on in the astrology in order to help you understand what this full moon is about and how it might be different from some of the other full moons and Aquariuses that we've had other years. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you're not interested in that, or if you've just heard me talk about it enough, totally fine. I've got the timestamps down below in the description box, also in the video, so that you can easily skip ahead of this section if you want and go straight to the details of what this full moon is about. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the context. Where I like to start very briefly is going to be about 5 years ago now, the very beginning of 2020, January to April, right around there of 2020. Okay. What was going on then? The reason why I like to start there is that there was a very rare, significant, and do I need to say uncomfortable alignment that happened at that time. What was going on then is that Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn, and the South Node all came conjunct at the middle to end degrees of the sign of Capricorn. This is a bit of a rare alignment because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct about every 35 years, roughly, and not always with Jupiter in the South Node there, which makes it even more of a rare alignment. Not only that, but which makes it more significant. And not only that, but it's a very difficult alignment because Saturn and Pluto tend to be considered planets that are a little more malefic, a little more challenging, a little more hard to handle, especially with them being on the way towards the outer planets. It was also a little difficult too because the South Node was there, which tends to also be harder, indicating things we need to let go of that aren't easy to let go of. And also too, because Jupiter was there, but Jupiter is in Capricorn, a sign it doesn't like to be in, and therefore doesn't really function that well in either. So this was a very rare, significant challenge that was happening at the very beginning of 2020. What was that challenge there? Well, Saturn can indicate, and Capricorn being in its home sign, of feeling stuck and unable to kind of move forward in some sort of way. That could have been very frustrating, especially with Pluto nearby it as well. And I think we were feeling stuck and frustrated and unable to move forward because there were a lot of things about our lives that we didn't like that had maybe gone on for many years prior to that, potentially 35 years, because that was the last time Saturn and Pluto came conjunct prior to this. And because Capricorn does tend to indicate where they were conjunct, things have been going on for a while as well. And I think we were feeling stuck and maybe had been in our lives for a while because either the things that we had been doing in our lives for a while, we just never really liked at all. They just weren't really that good for us. Or we did like at one point, but we simply had just changed and we're just starting to outgrow and wanted to do things differently. Not only was that what that alignment was about, but Pluto was involved and the South Node. Pluto is a lot about change and transformation. And I think endings first, right? In order for new things to begin, you got to end old things, especially with the South Node. They're also a symbol of endings too. So not only in January to April of 2020 did we realize, hey, there's a lot of things in my life going on that that are making me feel stuck, that I either never liked or did like at one time, but have since outgrown, but that I need to now make steps to end these things that have been a part of my life for a long time so that I can eventually move into a different experience, which is hard because it's hard to end things that have been a part of your life for a while were used to be very significant in your life. Okay? And if I can be honest, I think that took many years in various ways that we've talked about to happen mostly over the course of the past 5 years until we get to the beginning of this year. Okay, the beginning of this year, I want to focus on April of 2025 now, okay, to kind of bring us forward. The reason why I want to focus on April of 2025 is because there was a new moon solar eclipse there in the sign of Aries, somewhere around here. Solar eclipses are very significant. They usually bring big shifts in the energy. Another reason why I want to start there as well is because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's the beginning of the astrological year. So, I want to, so it's going to help me kind of just clean the slate to talk about this year. In addition to that, we did have some planets moving into Aries as well around that time, which can also be significant here with the Aries energy as well. So what was this about? Well, new moons are all about new beginnings, new energy, fresh starts. Solar eclipses are going to superpower that big time. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's a lot about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts, especially after spending the past 5 years ending things in various ways. And not only is Aries about that, but Aries is also a Mars ruled sign. Mars has a lot to do with our actions and doing things differently. So we were also trying to get new actions and new behaviors as well, because that's the key. I need to note to new experiences manifesting. Okay. New experiences don't just manifest in our lives, even though we wish they would and like to think they would. New experiences manifest because we behave differently and we do different things in order to make them manifest so that we don't repeat the same things over again. So it was about us adopting different behaviors that were different than the behaviors we had before over the course of the past 30 or 35 years. Hey, what were these different behaviors that we were adopting that were more helpful? Well, I think they were more Aries behaviors. Aries, especially because that's where the eclipse was. Aries is a fire sign. It's more about following more of our passions and what lights us up and what makes us happy. I also consider Aries to be a sign of doing things in a way that's simpler and easier. And that's significant because I think the way that we had been doing things for many years prior to April of 2025 were more Capricorn ways, where that conjunction was, which are things are more traditional, more serious, and what we should do because we feel like we have to be responsible instead of what we're actually passionate about. Okay. So in April of 2025, we started to say, okay, if I want to get to a new experience after these long, hard endings over the course of the past 5 years, I need to now start behaving in a very different way so that I don't recreate the same issues I did not like. And the way that I need to behave differently is not to do things out of obligation and tradition, because that's what got me stuck in the first place. It's to do things in a different way based on heart, on passion, on who I truly am, that I'm excited about, that are going to be simpler and easier, not as complicated. Okay, that then leads me now to the next new moon I want to talk about. Now I'm going to go through the new moons. A month later, somewhere around May of this year, 2025, the next new moon was a one sign over in the sign of Taurus. New moons are about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts. It's in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is the second sign of the zodiac. It's a fixed sign. Fixed signs are a lot about sustaining things that were previously started, like say in Aries, the first sign. And staying fixed in those so that they can become more of a thing, so that we can be, other Taurus words, more confident, more stable, more secure in those things that we were doing. So this was us trying to sustain some of these new behaviors that were simpler, easier, more passionate in order for us to really move forward. Not only that, but I should also note as well that Taurus, being a fixed earth sign, also tends to feel a little slower. Here as well, be a little bit of a slower sign as well. So what this could indicate is either we felt like we needed to take things slow in order to more fully sustain these new behaviors, right? Because sometimes if you go too fast, you like forget what you're doing. So we needed to either slow down to sustain these new behaviors so that we didn't forget them or lose control of them. Or if we didn't need to slow down, then that time period around May could have just felt slow, because when we're doing things that are simpler and easier, that we really enjoy and not out of obligation, it can feel like we're doing less because there's just a lighter energy. And sometimes when we're doing less, it feels like we're not really doing a lot here. So it could have also brought a feeling of that as well. So that was May of this year. We've ended old things we didn't like. We're now trying to create new things we do like by adopting different behaviors that are more passionate, simpler, and easier, which is not the way we were behaving before. And we're trying to sustain those things which may feel slow or make us need to go slow in order to do it. Okay, that then leads me now to the next new moon a month later, June, roughly. June of this year, 2025, we had a new moon in the next sign of Gemini. New moons are about new beginnings, new energy, fresh starts. Gemini is a lot about adapting to something and making it more familiar. Not only is it about adapting to something and making it more familiar, it also too, I think in some ways is a lot about kind of like being more flexible with it, or like looser, like enjoying something, being symbolized by two young twin boys, mutable sign, all of that. Not only that, but Gemini is a lot about our mindset too, and a lot about opening our mind to different ways of being or different ways of thinking as well. So I think that's what happened in June of this past year. We were getting new behaviors to help us get a new experience away from these things in the past. We had spent some time slowing down for various reasons to sustain these new behaviors, to make sure that we locked them in. And after spending some time sustaining these new behaviors and locking them in, we started to feel a little looser, a little more flexible, a little more able to express them without so much stiffness. And we're trying to open our mind to what life would look like with these different behaviors as well. And that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, which of course was the next new moon a month later in the following sign of Cancer in July of this year, 2025. Okay, what was that? New moons, new beginning, new energy, fresh starts. Cancer is a lot about our internal state, especially our internal emotions being the bottom of the zodiac, very private, very personal. There was also a very good alignment happening that at that time that new moon was conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, and that's the sign of Jupiter's exaltation. So this to me was a very good thing, helping to give us a very new emotional state, a very new internal state. And with Jupiter there, new beliefs, ideas about our life and about our experience. And I think it was giving us new beliefs that, again, were more back to the beginning of the astrological year, Aries season, where we're believing in more of these new behaviors, where we're believing that, yes, I need to behave in ways that are simpler, easier, and more passionate. And I need to throw out some of these behaviors that are based on responsibility or tradition or things that don't actually resonate with me, and about honing more into that and adjusting our internal state to that. Okay, that then leads me now, I should note, to the next alignment I want to mention. I'm going to go to a full moon now, which was the full moon right after that, 2 weeks after that, I think also somewhere around July. And that was here in Capricorn, around that same spot. We had that big conjunction in the beginning of 2020. Okay, what was that about? Well, full moons are all about stepping into things we've been working towards for a while. And bringing them more to completion or fruition. It's in Capricorn. Capricorn's a very public part of the chart that can be more publicly seen. So it was us, I think, starting to see some of our actions that were simpler, easier, more in tune with our passion that we'd been sustaining and believing in actually start to manifest in a more public way out in the world. And in a physical sense, right? Capricorn's physical. And in a more physical sense, to start to see things come together in more of a different experience of life that we'd been trying to get to, and to start to put more of the structure in. Capricorn is also the structure, the bones, to start to put some of the bones in here to make it be more long lasting, that I thought was also meant to be a good thing. That then leads me now to the next moon that I want to talk about. 2 weeks after that, it was a new moon here in the sign of Leo, which just happened very recently, also somewhere in July, I think, of this year. Okay, somewhere around there. I might have been off a week or two, but somewhere around there, July of this year, we had a new moon in the sign of Leo. And I need to note that new moon was in the sign of Leo while Mercury was also going retrograde in the sign of Leo as well. Okay, what is that about? Well, new moons are about new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts. Leo is a lot about our identity, identifying with different things. It being a fire sign, it's also about passion and our heart. And it's also too about courage and us trying to get more of that. But with Mercury retrograde at that time, in that same sign where that new moon was, that can indicate some sort of blockage there where we weren't identifying enough with these experiences that the full moon in Capricorn had just brought, or weren't getting the courage to move them forward, or weren't following our passions enough and our heart, which I really think was because of fear that we talked about then, which was making us feel stuck with the Mercury retrograde and unable to move forward right after something good was starting to manifest. So that's kind of where we were at that new moon in Leo. New behavior is going to get us into a new experience, passionate, simpler, easier, sustaining those, getting used to those, believing in those. They finally start to manifest good things externally, materially, the bones of it. the structure of it, but then we chicken out. so we chicken out. We become that we're the lion lacking courage in order to really move these things forward. And identify with these things making us feel stuck. Okay. That then leads me now to this full moon, of which this video is for here in Aquarius in August of 2025. What is that about? Full moons are about stepping into things that we've been working on for a while, right? Getting insights about things. Remember Aquarius we talked about as an air sign. It's about solutions, breaking free from things that have been keeping us stuck. And so what I think is happening at this full moon in Aquarius is that we are getting unexpected ideas and solutions about how to break free from the lack of courage that we're feeling, right? The stuckness that maybe was going on 2 weeks ago at that last new moon. We're getting unexpected insights about how to stop lacking the courage to move forward, and how to overcome any blockages with our identity and with how we see ourselves and around following our passions, so that we can overcome those things and create a better experience and future for ourselves as time goes on, which I think is also meant to be very significant and helpful. Okay. And that's it, because that's it. I'm just going to repeat that one more time before I move on into the specific alignments of this full moon. So let me do that. What I think is going on is that we've been trying for the past few years, we've been trying to end things in our life that we did not like, that have persisted for many years for various reasons, and to get rid of those so that we can enter a new, different, and better experience. And as of April this year, we finally began to adopt different behaviors that are needed in order for us to move into a different and better experience, right? Because if you want to move into a new experience, you need to act and behave differently. And those different behaviors that we needed to adopt were ones in which we followed more of our heart and passion. They were simpler and easier, instead of doing things out of responsibility, obligation, tradition, or seriousness and complexity. Because those different behaviors are going to fix the things. Not only did we adopt those behaviors in April of this year, but we also spent a few months sustaining those behaviors, which may have felt a little slow, getting used to them, adjusting our mindset, and believing more fully in those things. And us spending that time doing that work then led to us starting to see some new, different, and good things begin to manifest in a more public way in our lives that I think was very positive. But even though good things were starting to manifest in our lives, I think all of a sudden we kind of began to chicken out a little bit, because we didn't feel like we were worthy of these good things, or we're scared of moving them forward, or we're lacking the courage, weren't tuning into our heart. That made us feel stuck. And this full moon in Aquarius is about us breaking free from the stuck energy, the lack of courage, the fear, the things have been holding us back, so that we can take these good things that have recently happened and work with them more to make them bigger, better, and more of what they need to be. And that's it, because that's it. I'm just going to erase the chart and zoom in now. Now I'm going to zoom into more of the specific aspects here that are happening at or around this full moon in Aquarius. Okay, to do that, I'm just going to place the full moon on the chart one more time so we can see it. Here's the full moon in Aquarius. Now, what do I want to look at first? Sometimes I start with the full moon in Aquarius, but I already kind of did discuss that, right? Which is about us getting ideas to help liberate us unexpectedly from the past and things that have been keeping us stuck. Okay. But I think what I want to really start at here is an alignment happening around the full moon before I go into that, because I think that's just going to be important. So I'm going to start here. We've got Mars, which recently entered Libra in the days before this full moon, making an opposition over here with Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Okay. Now this to me is a little bit of a difficult alignment as we're coming into the full moon. Okay. I actually like this full moon. There's going to be some good ones we're going to talk about in a minute. But this is more as we're coming into the full moon, the early energies. This is a bit of a challenge. It's a bit of a challenge for a few reasons. We've got Mars here in the sign of Libra. Mars just doesn't like to be in the sign of Libra. And that's because planets don't like to be in signs opposite the ones they like or the ones that they're at home in. And in this case, Mars is at home in Aries. And Libra's opposite. So it doesn't really like to be there, which is a bit hard. In addition, as well, this is an opposition. Okay, an opposition is also a hard aspect. And we've got Saturn and Neptune involved, which are on their way towards the outer planets. And I believe the outer planets just tend to manifest in a more difficult way because they're just farther away from where we live here on Earth. So this to me is a bit of a challenging thing. What is that? Well, Mars is the planet of action. It wants to take action. It wants to do things. Mars to me also has to do with like courage and bravery. and swiftness. And in Libra, it's not able to really tap into that because Libra is the opposite sign of Aries. It's ruled by Venus. It's a slower sign. It's a sign that is maybe a little more measured, likes to think things through, weigh things out, maybe even talk to relationships about things and how they're going, and to do things in a way that's more peaceful and balanced, which sometimes just going straight in for things doesn't do. So this is us maybe wanting to do things to move our lives forward, but feeling stuck when it comes to doing that and not able to move forward in the way we might like, as fast as we might like, with the courage, bravery, and strength that we might like. In addition to that, we've also got the opposition to Saturn and Neptune on the other side, which is a bit hard. Saturn too can bring blockages and stuckness and slow things down, being correlated to Capricorn, naturally a little bit of a slower planet as well. So this can also bring a feeling of slowness, of stuckness, of like still not able to kind of move forward to do the things we want to do, to move our lives forward and to get that brave warrior spirit, courage that it is that we need. And in Aries, the first sign of the zodiac, to kind of start our lives over, right? Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's about new things. We're just feeling like we're not able to really break that wall and to move forward in the way that we need. In addition to that, Neptune is also a bit difficult. Neptune can bring sadness. It can bring confusion. It can bring a hazy feeling of just like uncertain of like, why is this happening? Why? And just not knowing how and why that's going on. That can be a bit difficult. Not only that, Neptune can also create illusions where maybe 1 minute we think we know what to do to get unstuck or to move forward, and then we don't. That can be a little slippery. In addition to that, I should note both of these things too, Saturn and Neptune, are a sign of the past. Neptune is a lot about the past because it correlates to Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac. Saturn is a lot about the past because it correlates to Capricorn, the 10th sign of the zodiac, which it starts winter, which also has to do with kind of the past and things dying, so to speak. Also too, because both of these things are retrograde, you can see they're red in the chart, and they're going to retrograde back into the sign of Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac as well. So there can also be not only us just feeling stuck and unable to move forward to really move into that new experience and confused of how to do that and sad and hazy and we think we know, we don't know, and it's kind of slippery. But I think that part of the reason why we're feeling stuck as well and confused is because maybe there's still some things from the past that haven't fully been resolved or that we're still sad about. Maybe, and are still hard for us to accept or to come to terms with as well. That's creating some of the issue, right? If we're still stuck about the past, it's hard to do things. It's hard to move forward. It's hard to get excited about what you want to do. It's hard to get clarity. So there can be some of that going on as well. That can also be bringing on some sad emotion, sad about the past, sad about what's happened, that can feel a little bit challenging and a little hard to kind of get a handle on and understand and especially make decisions, right? Oppositions are about decisions, make decisions about, that's difficult. So I think that's the first thing that I want to say here about this full moon in Aquarius, is that coming into it, the beginning of the energies, we're still feeling stuck, which I think we were feeling 2 weeks ago at that new moon in Leo. If you watch that horoscope, we're still feeling stuck and unable to really move forward in our lives into a new experience, especially fully in the way that it is that we want, and are feeling like things are slow or hesitating, or we're lacking the courage and drive to do that. And we're feeling confused too. We're lacking some of the understanding and insights about how to do that, or think we know when we really don't. That's making us sad and upset. And maybe we're still stuck on some things from the past that aren't fully resolved either. That's also making it harder for us to move forward. Okay, that then leads me now to the next thing that I want to talk about, which is going to be, where do I want to go? Mars. Maybe I'll stick with Mars here. Mars, not only at this time is making an opposition with Saturn and Neptune in Aries, but it's also making a trine, 2 trines as well. Mars in Libra is making a trine to Pluto over here in Aquarius. At the same time, it's making a trine to Uranus and Gemini, which, by the way, Pluto and Uranus are both making a trine together. So this is a grand air trine when you've got planets and all the air signs connecting to one another as well. So I want to look at this next. Now, this to me is actually a very good alignment. I consider this a good alignment because I tend to interpret trines positively more often than not, because trines consist of planets that are connecting because they're in signs of the same element. So whenever you see a trine, they're going to be between signs of the same element, in this case, air, and signs of the same element have something in common, meaning they kind of understand each other on some level and how to work with each other more easily. So I want to consider this to be more positive and more helpful here. Not only that, but I should also note another thing. I didn't mention this before, but I do consider Mars and Saturn to be a little bit of a mutual reception. It's not a pure mutual reception. Okay. So some people may not consider it that, but I do consider it a little bit because Mars likes to be in Aries. That's its home sign. And I believe Saturn's exalted in Libra. So there's a little bit of an affinity there that I think can also help it out, that I think can be positive, even though it's mostly the trine that I think is bringing some very good energy, that where this is going to come from. Okay. What is that trine bringing? Well, Mars is here in Libra, right? And again, it still has that energy of like still feeling stuck and still not being able to act in the way that we might like, as quickly as we might like. Not only that, but Libra, again, being an air sign, is more of a deliberating type of energy in the mind, thinking things through, okay? Because we're stuck, right? There's nothing's working. So we're kind of deliberating in the mind here. And it's connecting with Uranus and Aquarius and Uranus and Gemini and Pluto and Aquarius. And both Uranus and Aquarius are correlated, which can indicate sudden and unexpected ideas, especially with all these things being in air signs, thoughts, solutions, especially coupled with the full moon itself, which is about bringing things to light that we did not see before. So this can bring out of nowhere, what feels like out of nowhere, sudden and unexpected ideas, insights, thoughts, solutions here for our situation. And again, Uranus and Aquarius are a lot about breaking free, about how to break free from that stuck energy that we've been feeling that's been preventing us from moving forward in the way that we might like. Not only that, but Pluto is involved too. Pluto can bring a lot of motivation. It can bring a lot of drive, a lot of inspiration as well. So not only can this bring suddenly and unexpectedly out of nowhere, especially with that full moon in Aquarius, ideas, solutions to help us break free from this stuck energy, but it can also bring with it a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration, a lot of drive, a lot of excitement to feel like we can improve our lives, to feel like we've got a way out, or we've got something we're honing in on, something that can be really helpful to us and to bring more energy and a little bit more spunk here to our situation, that I think can be very nice. And that I need to notice happening very quickly. Trines, especially when you get a grand air trine, can indicate things happening pretty quickly and easily, because remember, all these signs are air, so they all get along very well. So unexpected ideas, quick, easily coming together out of nowhere, we didn't see coming, bringing lots of excitement, motivation, that's happening. Not only that, but I also want to note as well, with Libra being involved, Mars and Libra, this can have to do with relationships as well and other people. So some of these ideas that you're getting suddenly and unexpectedly may come as a result of conversations with the Gemini, with relationships with other people. So maybe you're talking to someone and they unexpectedly suggest something that helps you, or they help you out in some way. So it can also be something like that, where a relationship or other people also really help you to get the insights that you need. So what that means, to kind of bring that together so far, is that, at the very beginning of this full moon in Aquarius, the early energies, we are feeling a little stuck still and unable to kind of move forward and improve our lives for the better. And we're lacking that courage and that drive and that warrior spirit in order to do it, and are feeling stuck and confused about how to do it, and sad, maybe because there's still some things from the past that we just can't get out of, that we still haven't fully come to terms with and accepted. But even though we're kind of feeling stuck and sad from that stuckness, we then all of a sudden, because we are kind of just have nothing to do but just think about it, are then getting a whole bunch of sudden and unexpected ideas, insights, and solutions about how to break free from these things that have been keeping us stuck and move forward, which may be a result of a conversation that we have with someone else unexpectedly that helps us, that then allows, that then makes us feel more motivated, more excited, more inspired to like improve our lives and take the bull by the horns and figure some things out. And that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which is going to be here, where Venus is coming into a conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer. And this is now moving towards the like the later energies, I want to say, of the full moon as more of the full moon goes on, especially because this alignment at the time of the full moon has yet to happen. Do you see Venus has yet to actually come into that conjunction with Jupiter? It won't be till a day or two after, but clearly it's still relevant. It's still close. We're still feeling it. So this is more as time moves on. But this energy to me, this alignment is a very good one. I love this one a lot. Very positive. What is the very positive thing here? Well, Jupiter is in Cancer. Okay. Jupiter is typically known to be about gifts and good luck, tends to be a benefic and positive planet. In addition to that, it's in Cancer, it's a sign of exaltation where it loves to be and functions better than anywhere else. And we've got Venus here as well. And Venus is a benefic planet and it's fine with Jupiter. It can be very friendly with it. So this to me is a very positive thing. What is the good thing that is going on here? Well, Venus, maybe I'll start there. Venus is the feminine principle. It's a lot about being open to receive things or to allow things to occur. I believe that everything in the chart is connected. So that to me is going to have to be with these new ideas, right? We're getting a whole bunch of new ideas. Solutions about how to get unstuck, about how to fix things, right? This is us being open to receive those things and saying, okay, I think these ideas are good. I think I'm liking these. I think these might work. Instead of pushing them away, we're accepting and receiving those. Not only that, but Venus is in Cancer. Cancer is a lot about our emotions and how our emotions feel. So not only are we saying, okay, I think I like these ideas, I'm receiving them, but I think we're saying they feel good in my soul. Maybe to put it that way, I think Cancer can be very soulful, especially being the bottom of the chart. These things, they feel very good in my soul. They feel very, like they resonate with me on a very emotional, deep level as being something that will be very helpful for me and my situation. So this to me is a very good thing. Not only that, but Jupiter is involved as well. Jupiter is a very big planet, so it can superpower that, where we're feeling super, super open to these ideas that we're getting and super good about these insights that it is that's happening. In addition to that, Jupiter can also be about wisdom and understanding. So this can also be us not only getting the ideas, but understanding them more, and not necessarily understanding them logically. Because remember, this is in Cancer, an emotional sign, being a water sign, but understanding them more on like a deep emotional level. Like we just feel it, right? Because maybe logically there's still some things we don't know about it, about how these things might work out. But I think on an emotional level, we feel really good, like these things are going to work. Not only that, but Jupiter can also indicate new things as well. So this can also indicate new emotions, where we're being in Cancer, a water sign correlated to the moon, we're starting to feel differently about our lives. And again, more hopeful, especially piggybacking off of the air trine with Pluto involved there too. Not only that, but I also want to note as well, another way of maybe looking at this alignment here, Cancer to me too also has to do with things that are maybe hidden, since it's the lowest part of the chart, very private. So it has to do with some of that. Not only do I want to note that, but Cancer to me too, being about our foundations in life and being a cardinal sign, to me also has to do with things that are more enduring, right? When you have a foundation of something, it's solid, it's enduring. So another thing that might be happening is that we might not only be accepting these ideas, understanding these ideas at an emotional level, feeling very good about these ideas, which is renewing our emotions and making us feel better, but this could also be us too, feeling like these ideas are going to work this time. Like these are ideas are the ideas. These ideas and solutions are the ideas which are going to fix a lot of things in our life and get us stuck, or are actually going to work this time. Because I think we've tried a lot of ideas over the course of the past few years that haven't worked. But I think we're feeling really good about these ones as these actually working. And if you're not feeling good about it, then this alignment to me can just indicate that these ideas are going to work, whether you believe it or not. These ideas that we're getting now are going to be enduring ones, long-lasting ones that are going to get our life in a different direction, and that are going to give our life a good, a more permanent foundation in order for us to move forward. So it can also indicate that as well. These ideas are going to unlock a lot of things in our life that we need, that can happen. Not only that, but another few thoughts I'll give you here about this is that, again, Cancer's a private sign as well, not publicly seen. So not only are these ideas that we're receiving and we're getting more emotional wisdom and understanding about, and are actually going to work this time, but they're going to need but even though these ideas are going to work, right, they're still just ideas, right? They're still just ideas that are percolating beneath the surface. They still need a little more time to become more public and more seen. So keep that in mind as well. Another thought that I might note too is that Venus is making a conjunction with Jupiter, and Venus is a lot about relationships, especially with Mars here in Libra now, but it's also too about money. It's also about our own sense of self and our self-worth. So this can also indicate very good things there in that regard as well. Again, it still feels a little more subconscious or a little more private, but it can indicate us getting some very good insights about our self-worth, about money, about relationships, and about how we want to do those in a different and better way that also feels good and feels right. That's going to, that we're going to have to work with more and more as time goes on to make more public. So that's what I want to say there. Maybe to repeat that before I add, I think one or two more alignments on, is that at this full moon in Aquarius, right, we're coming into it, we're feeling a little stuck and unable to move forward, to improve our lives, to do things that we want to do. And things are going a little slow. And confused about why that's happening. That's making us feel a little frustrated and sad, possibly because we're still stuck in some things from the past that we haven't fully come to terms with or accepted that are holding us back. That's a challenge. But from this stuckness with nothing working, we have some time to chill because there's not much that we can do. And from this time to chill, we're all of a sudden, suddenly and unexpectedly getting positive insights and solutions, which feel like they're coming out of nowhere very quickly to help us break free from this stuck energy or anything from the past that's been keeping us stuck, which may also occur as a result of an unexpected conversation with someone that can be very helpful to us and bring a lot of motivation, a lot of inspiration for our lives and to make change that maybe we haven't felt in a while, and bring a very significant change in our emotions and how we emotionally experience life. That we can be very open to receive, and may lead us to believe that these ideas that we're getting are going to be the ones to work this time, to fix anything that's been keeping us stuck kind of once and for all, and to unlock a lot of things in our life, especially with relationships, money, and our own sense of self, and to do those differently and better, even if it still takes more time for us to kind of bring all of that together. That then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention. I think this might be the last one here, and it's going to be Mercury. Now, at the time of this full moon in Aquarius, Mercury is still retrograde. You can see it here in the chart. Mercury is still red in the chart. There the degrees are, and when it's red, it means it's retrograde. So it's still retrograde at the time of the full moon, but shortly after, in the days after this full moon in Aquarius, Mercury is going to go direct. So Mercury is stationing to go direct in the sign of Leo, which is what I want to talk about here. And it's just going to miss. It's just going to miss in opposition to Pluto. What is this about? Well, I consider this to be a good thing. I tend to like it when planets station, to be honest, either direction. But stationing direct is obviously a very good thing. I consider it a good thing in a few ways. Well, for one, when a planet is stationing, it means it's appearing to move very still and in the sky. And that can bring a lot of focus on that planet and the position that it is, right? Because it's not really appearing to be moving. And when there's a lot of focus on a planet, I think it can bring a lot of insight, inspiration, or bring a lot of things to light, right? That we didn't see before, which is a huge theme going on here. Tons of things coming to light that we didn't see before in so many different ways at this full moon. Not only that, but with it about to go direct, when it goes direct, it appears to be moving forward in the sky, more of its natural motion. And that can bring what? Forward movement, forward momentum, right? Quite literally. So it can also bring some of that, which I think is a very good thing. And it's going to bring that in regards to the Mercury energy. Mercury, yes, is about our mind, is about our ideas. And I do think that that's really more where we are at this full moon in Aquarius, in the realm of our mind and ideas, especially with Aquarius being an air sign. But Mercury, I need to note too, can also be a little bit about our physical environment as well. And I consider Mercury to be about our mind and our physical environment, because Mercury naturally correlates, yes, to Gemini, an air sign in the head, but also to Virgo. It's at home there as well, and exalted there. And Virgo is an earth sign about the physical environment in a lot of ways as well. So I consider it to be a bit of both, even though the ideas and the mental might be a little more indicated, happening a little more naturally at this time. Okay, so this is some sort of with it stationing direct, some sort of clarity, some sort of positive idea that's going to help us take action, right? To help us adjust our physical environment in a positive way that's going to feel more productive. Okay. Not only that, but again, with Mercury having to do with our physical environment, right? It's going to help us start to adjust some things in our physical environment. Now, is everything done? Adjusting things in our physical environment to make, no, right? The ideas had to come first. Okay. And the right emotional place with the Venus Jupiter had to come first. But this is us starting to adjust, feel like we can adjust things in our life after this point in a better way. Not only that, but I also want to note a few other things about it. Even though Mercury is going direct very shortly after this full moon in Aquarius, it still has to go through the degrees it was already at, right? Because it went retrograde here, and then it has to come back through those degrees in its post-retrograde shadow, which are degrees it's already been at. In addition to that, Saturn and Neptune are still retrograde. They're going to retrograde back into Pisces soon. And we're coming up to eclipse season. We're going to have an eclipse, a lunar eclipse on the North Node. Lunar to me are about endings. And we're also going to have a solar eclipse on the South Node in Virgo. These are also about endings. The South Node is also about endings as well, and especially about the past too. So even though we're getting a lot of clarity to help us kind of adjust our physical environment in a more productive way, the steps we might take to adjust our physical environment might first have to do with the past, might first have to do with fixing something from the past and adjusting that. But this time with the right idea, once and for all, the right idea, the real idea that's actually going to work to move us forward. Okay. So I want to keep that in mind. It feels more like not new things, but the past first. But in the end, maybe to get kind of picky here about words, it's all the same, right? Like we're going to go back to the past to make it new again. And when you go back and you fix something from the past, that in essence is making it new. So I'm just like splitting hairs here. It's however you want to think of it, really. But I think there is a little bit of like a past component, like fixing some things from the past here, from this right place now, which is going to bring the progress eventually to move things forward in the way that we need. Another thought that I want to add here as well is that the Mercury is going direct in the sign of Leo. Leo is a lot about courage. It's a lot about our identity. I'm trying to clear up some of the degrees so you can see them all. It's a lot about our courage. It's a lot about our identity, how we see ourselves. It's a lot about seeing ourselves in a better light, which we talked about the new moon in Leo. It's a lot about passion and heart. So not only is Mercury going direct, giving us even more clarity than we had about our lives and what needs to fix, more of the go ahead to actually fix things and adjust things in our life over the course of the next few weeks in a way that's actually going to work, but it's giving us the courage. Now with that direct, the courage to do it, the right sense of self, the better sense of self in order to do it, and more of the passion as well in order to do it too, so that these things that we're doing are more in alignment with our heart, our identity. That's also what Leo has to do with to really make it work at this time, which I think is meant to be a very good thing about it. Now I want to say, I think this is good. I think that's really the note that I prefer to leave it on, but maybe I should say one thing. Mercury is slightly in an opposition to Pluto and Aquarius. Now it's not going to get back to it exactly because I think Mercury is going to go direct at the degrees, after it. It's not going to make it exact, here. So this isn't maybe going to be exactly felt by everyone, but I do just want to make a note as well about this opposition to Pluto in case some of you are feeling it here. What might that be? Well, I think that the Mercury, remember to bring that together, going direct in Leo is about us finally getting the courage, the presence, the strength, the passion to fix a lot of things in our life that have been holding us back once and for all in a better way. And I think that's a good thing. And I think we want to do it. But with the opposition to Pluto, an opposition can be a little hard. So too can Pluto. This can bring just a little bit of agitation that about it all and about the fact that we kind of have to fix all this stuff one more time. We've already been fixing these things. So it can bring a little bit of that of like, I still need to do something to fix this stuff or to bring this stuff together. It can bring a little bit of that, but I don't think that that's a main thing. And I don't think that that's that big of a deal. I think there's way more courage, inspiration, and drive that we're finally going to be able to get out of this mess or whatever it was. That's really leading the way instead of the frustration. And if there is any frustration of like, okay, good, I've got the answers, but now I still need to do something about it, I think it's going to be little. It's going to be little, it's going to be short, and you're going to have a better time of handling that you need. Another thought that I want to note as well, since this is the last alignment I'm going to mention, is that this fixing or adjusting things now from this better place with the key, these answers, the key, which we're unlocking here with a lot of things. I do think, again, it's going to take a few more weeks to fully follow through and to fully do, because we're going to need eclipse season. Eclipse seasons bring big changes here, which is going to be over the course of the next month or 2 months, I think we're going to need at least in order to kind of bring these things together. So it's still going to take some time, but this is significant because this full moon in Aquarius is the download. It's the key. It's the lightning bolt where everything finally clicks into place about how to do all of this, in order to fix and so that we can move forward. Other things that I want to note as well is that when I say right, like, maybe I should have mentioned this a few minutes ago, but when I say the past, like we might need to go back to fix things from the past in order to move things forward that may take a few more months, that this is now the lightning bolt to do. This could be the recent past, the past few weeks and months, but I'm getting a sense that this could actually extend all the way back to 2020 as well, where we're going back to fix things from 2020 that we tried and never worked. That the next few months, we're going back to 2020, to things that we may have done since 2020 that didn't work. And we're now going to freaking do those things that are going to work this time and to bring them forward, right? Which may feel like we're going backwards, but we're going backwards to finally move forward, and not stay stuck in this limbo. Because I think over the course of the past few years, we've tried to move forward, it hasn't worked. And then we've tried to fix it again, hasn't worked, try to fix again, hasn't worked, try to fix again, hasn't worked. Well, no, not this time. This time we're going to go back to try to fix it again. And this time it's going to work because we've got a lot of the correct things falling into place with our mindset and our emotions. And the reason why I think it could extend even back to that is because, remember, Saturn and Neptune are going back into Pisces soon. Okay, they're going to retrograde back there. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It's like where everything from the past is the holding place for all of it. So this can be, there's been a lot of things from the past that have been a holding that have been stuck. And we now need to go back to kind of do those right this time, that now we finally know how to do in order to bring everything together, which is meant to be a good thing, right? This is not meant to be sad. I don't know, maybe some of you will listen to this and think it's sad, especially with that kind of opposition to Pluto of like, oh, great, we got to go back to the past and all that. It's like, this is not supposed to be sad. This is very exciting. Yeah, you're going back to the past, but this time you know what to do and you know what needs to be done. And if you don't think you know it intellectually, you know it emotionally, you know it in your heart, what needs to be done. And this time it's finally going to work so that after you adjust these things over the course of the next few weeks, you're going to be in the different and better experience and you aren't going to have to deal with these issues from the past 5 years any longer because you're going to be moving forward. Okay. So keep in mind, this is very hopeful. The lightning bolt, the key where it all starts to come together for you in the way you need. Okay. And that's it, because that's, well, is there anything else I want to say? Sorry, before I repeat it all, I usually like to give you some advice here, but I have to say, I think this is just going to happen. It's going to happen spontaneously. It's going to feel like it's happening spontaneously here, where all of a sudden out of the blue, you're just going to get the ideas and the insights that you need. Now, is it really just happening out of nowhere? No. Okay. This is not really happening out of nowhere. This is happening because over the course of the past few years, you put in the work to change your mindset, to change your behaviors, to change your emotions, to change your identity, to change how you see yourself. And it's because all of those things have now compounded and have now happened enough, right, to give you these insights. So I think this is going to happen naturally for a lot of you because of the work that you've done in order to get here. If it's not happening naturally for you, then it's possible you may need to revisit some of my horoscopes from the past few years and start to see yourself in a very different way, start to feel very differently about your life, start to think very differently about your life, start to act very differently, because that's going to get you kind of here to where you need to get a lot of the answers and get a lot of things clicking into place here at this time. Okay, and that's it, because that's it. I'm now just going to repeat that one last time before we move on to another section of the video. So let's do that. What I think is going on here at this full moon in Aquarius, especially at the beginning of it, early on, is that we're feeling a little stuck, unable to kind of move forward, do things in our life, adjust it in a better way that we need, which can make us feel stuck and uncomfortable. Not only that, we're also confused about why we're stuck and what to do and how to overcome it, and maybe still sad about some things from the past that still don't feel right or fixed or where they need to be, which is very hard. But because we're feeling stuck and really not able to kind of move forward in the way we might like, we're kind of just chilling. And I think from that, we're getting a lot of sudden and unexpected ideas, insights, and solutions out of the blue very quickly, perhaps a result of a conversation, unexpected conversation that we have with someone else that's going to give us a lot of solutions to kind of fix this stuck energy or these things from the past and to break free from it. And these unexpected ideas, solutions, and insights that we get very quickly, then I think help us to feel like more motivated and inspired and excited about our life and how to fix it, and give us a very new emotional state or shift our emotions in a very positive way. Not only do they give us a very new emotional state and shift our emotions in a positive way, but they also help us to feel emotionally, whether logically we know this or not, it helps us to feel emotionally like these ideas are the ideas that are really going to work in a more permanent and enduring way to get us out of the things that have been keeping us stuck and to do relationships, money, and our own sense of self much differently. And that then helps us to feel more ready to act on these ideas, to then take action on these ideas that we're getting to fix these things from the past first in order to move forward and to fix them maybe from a long time ago, maybe from issues from 5 years ago that have been plaguing us, and to fix it right this time so that it actually will work. And to do that, which will take another few more months, 2 or 3 months for us to work out, even though it will work this time. And there could be a little bit of frustration that we still have a few things we need to do to bring it together. But I think we're going to overcome that because there's just so many good ideas and excitement around to help us move onwards with more of the courage and the passion and the desire in order to do it this time. And I think a lot of that is happening naturally and easily and spontaneously on its own. Because we put in the work. We put in the work over the course of the past few years, spent a long time to change our emotions, to change our thoughts, to change our behaviors in order to get to this point. And now it's just starting to take off in the way that it is that we need. But if it's not happening naturally, then you may need to revisit some of my horoscopes from the past few years and work on really changing your behaviors, your thoughts, your perspective, your sense of self in order to get these good ideas that are now starting to come to us. Okay. And that's it. Because that's it, what I like to do now is to just explain a few more things about the energy and the astrology in a more conversational way without having to be tied to the aspects as much, because sometimes it helps me to fill in some of the blanks and give you more details. So I'm going to do that. I think the thing that stands out to me, I've said this 1 or 2 times already in this video, but I think that this is super important. This may be what I'm going to title the video. I'm not sure, but this full moon in Aquarius is the key to unlock so many things in your life that have been keeping you stuck, I think, for years. I think since 2020, okay? It's going to be the key to unlock that's what's keeping you stuck, the lightning bolt to really help you figure a lot of that out and bring solutions to a lot of your problems you've had for a very long time, okay? This is the full moon that's going to do it. That's going to help with that. Okay, which I think is a good thing. Now, it's not necessarily the actual doing of these ideas, the doing of these solutions. Okay, I think that we still need a few more weeks for that. Especially we're going to need an eclipse in Virgo and Earth sign on the South Node to fully fix the old things, release the old things, let those things go. Okay, I think that so I think the doing of it is still a little bit down the line, but the insight, the inspiration, the motivation, the courage, the drive is this place, is this full moon in Aquarius, which is going to be very important, because how can you fix anything if you don't have the perspective and the ideas that it is that you need? So that's where I want to start here. Powerful full moon to finally give us the answers, the insights, the solutions, the keys to unlocking anything that's been stuck in our lives for a very long time and move forward. Which is good, which is very good. And that means that it's in the mind, it's an idea. We still have to do it, which is what we're going to talk about in the next lunations in a few weeks after this one. Okay. What else do I want to say? Okay. How does this relate? Maybe I should go back to the 2020 timeframe, because I'm like, this is going to help us unlock a lot of things, which I think have been stuck since 2020. What do I think has been going on since 2020 to now? I think in 2020 to now, we've been trying to get to a new, different, and better experience of life. but it's just been like, maybe it's been like one failure after the other. Maybe that's a way to put it. We've been trying since 2020 to now to get into a new experience of life. And I feel like everything that we've worked, everything we've tried hasn't worked, or hasn't worked fully, or hasn't worked a lot. And so I think that has left us in a weird kind of in-between space, where we've kind of been at a loss for what to do and how to do it. And not only have been in a weird in-between space, maybe it's made something messy. Maybe it's created some messes here. And this full moon in Aquarius is gonna fix all of that. This full moon in Aquarius is gonna help you finally do what you've been trying to do since 2020 to 2025 in the correct way now, the right way, so that you're not constantly trying new things and failing and trying new things and failing, but so that you actually know what you're doing and can fix it. And it's going to help you kind of clean up any of that mess that you've had as well, especially coming up to Virgo season and an eclipse there. Okay. It's going to help you to kind of clean up the mess as well from the past few years, and this time to have it work, which I think is meant to be an exciting thing, right? It's kind of exciting to finally figure out how to crack the code, how to make things work, right? As we were trying a lot before and it didn't work. And it kind of reminds me of what's that quote? I think they attribute it to like Albert Einstein, like when he was inventing the light bulb. I think there's a quote that's like, I didn't fail to invent the light bulb 1,000 times. I just tried 1,000 things that didn't work, and I think, and to me, that's very Aquarius, right? Aquarius is about electricity. It's about the light bulb. It's about that spark of inspiration. And so I think that since 2020 to now, we've been trying to fix our lives to get it, and it hasn't worked. And then now finally it works. And all these failures and quotes that we had over the course of the past few years were actually learning experiences to set us up for now, to help us finally figure it out. So keep that in mind too. And that's a good way of putting it as well, of like the past 5 years, because maybe some of you are like, oh, the past 5 years was such a waste. And it's like, well, okay, no, the past 5 years were not a waste, even though I might understand the feeling. They were not a waste. They were learning opportunities. It was you learning. It was you in being taught by spirit, the divine, whatever, by experience, on what the new life is about and on how to behave in the new life and on who you need to be in order to make the new life manifest. So don't see the past few years as a failure. The past few years were very important to help you get here, because if we didn't have the past few years, right, we may not get to this point. We may not have the insight and the wisdom and the understanding that it is that we need compounding to get us to where we need to go. So keep that in mind too. Okay. And us, right? I'm stuck on like the past, the past and the future, right? It may feel like we have to go back to the past because we're kind of getting issues since 2020, but I don't think it's going to feel as frustrating. So I want to note that as well. Not only have the past few years, there's been a frustrating bit about it where we're constantly like redoing things over and over again and nothing's ever working. And I do think there's something in the next few weeks where we're going to have to go back to redo things, but I don't think there's going to be as much of the frustration surrounding that, because I think there's an inner knowing that going back to the past is going to work this time, and it's going to work this time to move us forward. So I'm getting a sense of like a very weird past but future at the same time, or like past but forward, and like feeling like, sure, we're going to the past, but we're also moving forward into the future at the same time, kind of happening all at once. And to keep that in mind, that I don't think that this is a frustrating experience or meant to be a frustrating experience. This is actually the next few weeks, I think, meant to be very empowering for you to finally kind of know what to do and how to do it, and to finally put a lot of the pieces together, crack the code, answer a lot of questions that you've had in your mind and in your life, and move past those, kind of graduate on past some of those things. Okay. And graduating on past those things so that eventually, right, new things. So eventually we can learn new lessons, right? Like the way that I see life, this is just my opinion, is that like there's always something we're learning in life, and learning sometimes is not as easy as it might sound. So after we learn this and fix these issues from the past 5 years, there's going to be other things we're going to have to learn, which can feel challenging. Okay. But they're going to be in a different vein after this. So there's another thought here is like, at this full moon in Aquarius in the next few weeks during the eclipse season, we're going to go back to the past, especially from things that possibly happened since 2020, to finally fix them once and for all with the way that's actually going to work, to kind of move them forward into the future and graduate from a lot of those lessons. And then after that happens, there's going to be new lessons that we're going to have to learn, new themes we're going to be talking about that are different than the ones we've been talking about, that are going to come up that may then also take years after that to learn as well, because I don't think we learn things as quickly as we like to think, these things take time. Those will start to emerge, and those will start to emerge, maybe next year, but I feel like 2028. I feel like 2028 is going to be like a big new learning lessons time. So keep that in mind. And maybe I'm a little premature on saying that, because I think that in between the old lessons and the new lessons, we're going to have a little bit of a break, next year. I like next year, with Jupiter on the South Node next year in Leo. So I think there's a thought there. We're graduating from all of the issues of the past 5 years to kind of put all of that together. Then we might have a break in 2027 or 2028 to kind of get used to it all. And then we'll have new lessons to learn that will come up. That will be long themes that we'll probably spend years talking about as well. That'll be different. Okay. Okay. What else do I want to note here too? Okay. Another thing too, maybe about the speed of things. The point is really not the speed. I think speed is maybe I make it more of a deal than it really needs to be, or is kind of irrelevant. But us going back to fix over the course of the next few weeks, to fix some of these things from the past. What do I feel about the speed? I feel like we need to not rush it. Okay. I think there's a feeling there with that, especially with the North Node in Pisces. We're going to have an eclipse on the North Node in Pisces. Pisces is a lot about faith and patience and trust and surrender. So I think there's not a need to push it. I think we need to just trust in the process that's happening. But I think it might occur easier than you think, or it might occur faster than you think. Something of that sort, in order to redo all this, because now we have the right perspective and we have a lot of things coming together in the right emotional place, the right actions. So I think that, I think it might happen a little bit quicker than maybe a little slower than you think, but also a little quicker than you might think. Maybe that's how I feel about the next few weeks. Going back to fix these things from the past should be an enjoyable experience, an empowering experience. And I think it might happen. Don't rush it. Okay. And I think it might happen a little slower than you might expect, but also a little quicker. There's gonna be something about it that I think it may be a little surprising about how it happens, but in a good way to kind of get you to where you need to go. Okay. And to not focus on the speed, because the point is not how fast it is. The point is on doing things right, finally, with the knowledge, and enjoying what we're creating and enjoying where we're going, and celebrating the journey and what we've learned so far. Okay. What else do I want to note? Okay, the other thing that I wanted to say as well, okay, there's two other things that are coming to me, right? Maybe I should just make clear before I kind of go in a little bit of a different line of thinking here. The reason why we're getting these insights now that we have is because of the past 5 years. It's because of what we've learned. Okay. These insights aren't happening out of the blue just because you're lucky, just because you're you. These things are happening because of the lessons we've learned cumulatively over the course of the past 5 years, which have a lot to do with new actions, new ways of thinking, new ways of feeling about our lives, new ways of seeing ourselves. It's like all of those things. Okay. It's not, and that's another point. It's not just one, it's all of those. It's not just, oh, well, we're thinking about our life in a new way. All of a sudden new things manifest. It's the compounding influence of all of these things. We're seeing ourselves differently. We're doing things differently. We're thinking differently. We're feeling differently. That is what is causing now these insights and everything else from here to start to come together. And I think that's because in my opinion, everything that's created externally in the world must happen internally first, right? So many times we like to think of it the opposite. We like to think, oh, I'm going to do something and then I'm going to become the person that deserves this thing, or that does this thing, or that makes it happen. And that's not actually the way a lot of things work in life. You have to become the person you want to be, or the thing that you want to be first internally, and then it manifests externally the other way. Okay. I think when we try to do the opposite, and when we try to have the external thing happen first and then match it internally, I think sometimes that's when things can get a little strange. Not always, but I think a lot of times. So I think that's another thought here too, of like why this took so long to get here from 2020 to 2025 is because we needed to learn a lot of the things to now bring the insights to now make everything super easy. Okay. For it all to happen. We needed all of that because everything that's created externally needs to happen internally first. Okay. The next, and I think the last thing I want to talk about before we look at your inside degrees and your tarot card is maybe to put it in the context of the past few weeks, months, because I know that there were some of you, especially at the last full moon in Capricorn. No, I think it was more the new moon in Leo. The last video I did 2 weeks ago, we're a little frustrated about some of the energy and about what was happening. So I also want to take a moment to kind of explain that and to kind of connect the dots there for you if you were frustrated with that as well. And I think the thought here that I want to say is that about a month ago, the last full moon that we had in Capricorn here around July, I said there was something good that was starting to manifest in a more public, physical way that could be tangibly seen that really we'd been working towards since 2025. Okay, which I thought was correct. Which really we'd been working towards since 2020 for those 5 years, which I thought was correct. And then I mentioned after that at the new moon in Leo 2 weeks ago that we were hitting kind of a roadblock and we were stuck again. Okay, with the Mercury retrograde, that was really frustrating to people about why that was happening when we had been working so hard to kind of get to the point that it is that we needed to be. And if that was you, I want to say a few things. I want to say, well, that's resolving itself now. Okay. That issue that we had 2 weeks ago at the new moon in Leo of like stuck, can't move forward again is resolving itself now. It was actually really quick to resolve. It really didn't take too terribly long to resolve that blockage. Okay. So now we're good with that. Not only do I want to say that if that was you, right? But I also want to say too, is that the reason why we had this blockage, okay, in between the full moon in Capricorn in July to now, the full moon in Aquarius in August of this year is because, again, we needed that time to upgrade our identity to be the person we're going to be, right? Because it all goes, because Leo is about our identity, where the new moon and Mercury retrograde has been. And because, again, that's fundamental. Anything you want to create, most of the things you want to create in reality have to be created internally first. So I think that the full moon in Capricorn a month ago was giving us a taste of what could be, what good things could be in our lives could come so that we then could adjust our identity to embody that, to embody these good things so that the rest of it could fully come together in the way that it is that we needed. And the full moon in Capricorn was trying to get our foot in the door so that we could transform in order to bring that together. And that was really what was needed, right? We can, if the full moon in Capricorn just kept bringing on more good things, we might not experience the emotional transformation. That's really important that happens in order to bring, right, kind of the rest of it together that we needed. And that full moon in Capricorn bringing the taste of the good things was helping, I think, to adjust our vision, was helping you to adjust your vision to say, hey, look, this is what's possible for your life. Now you have to be it and you have to embody it in order to bring it together. Okay. Which is, again, is what's needed, the integration of all of these things that we've been learning. So maybe that's the last thought I'll share here. We got a little bit of a taste of something good happening in a month ago, but then felt stuck because we needed to fully integrate everything we'd learned from the past 5 years and embody it so that everything could finally come together and gel in our mind so that now we have the drive and the motivation and the courage, right? That's also important. The courage in order to do it in the way that it is that we need and follow through on it. Okay. Okay. And that blockage was never meant to be a permanent blockage that we had the past few weeks. It was meant to be a good one to really help us finally put a lot of pieces together and figure a lot of things out that we needed. All right. And I think that's all I'm going to say. Right. Right. I don't think I need to give you any examples. I think that's pretty clear cut. Just think back to your life from the past 5 years that that you were confused about for a very long time that you didn't have answers on, and whatever that thing was for you. I'm sure a lot of you don't even have to think that hard about it. I'm sure that you'll just know it because it's been such a big issue for you. Just think about that. Okay. And it's that thing that now you're going to start to get clarity to unexpectedly. You're going to start to get answers to, and that now you're going to start to figure out, finally put all the pieces together on how to fix, and you're going to take the action over the course of the next few months to fix. Okay. That's what it is. Okay. You just need to reflect on your own situation. If I were to give you some examples, right, then I would say this. Maybe some of you the past few years, you've been trying to move home. It's been really hard for you to move home. You haven't known where to move. You haven't known what place to move to. You haven't found a buyer or seller or whatever it is, or your neighbors have been crazy. Well, starting at this full moon in Aquarius, you may all of a sudden get the answer, the key that unlocks all of that unlocks, okay, this is where I need to move. This is where I need to move to. This is how I'm going to fix that, right? in order to move forward, or this is how I need to sell the house differently in order to get there. Okay. Same with a job situation. Maybe some of you have had a job situation for the past few years. You have been wanting to do a new job, but you haven't really known where that new job, what that new job is, or how to get there, or how to make that business, or how to make it work. And maybe you've tried a lot of times and it hasn't come together. It's been very frustrating. Well, we got a taste of, right, maybe what the new job would be in the full moon in Capricorn. And now all of a sudden you're getting a lot of answers, a lot of clarity to finally unlock that thing that's been hidden from you, that thing that's been stuck. You're getting a lot of clarity and answers about what job to do, how to do your job, where to go, how to apply, what's going to be good for you, and what way, to kind of bring that together. Maybe this is a relationship thing. Maybe some of you have had a difficult relationship with someone and you haven't been able to figure that out. Or maybe you've been wanting to get in a new relationship and meet new people and you haven't been able to figure out what that is or where they are. Well, all of a sudden you could get some unexpected insight here that helps you to kind of figure out, okay, this is where I need to meet people and this is what I need to do in relationships and this is how I need to behave, that you may then need to run with there. Maybe it's a health thing. Maybe you've been trying to fix your health for a long time and it's been really hard and you haven't had answers and you've kind of figured it out, but then you kind of haven't. And it's been, all of that. Well, now what could happen at this full moon in Aquarius is that you finally get a major download about your health and what you need to do, with your health. Maybe it's changing some of your things that you'd already done from the past to finally fix it this time and to finally get it on a much better trajectory here. So it's a lot of that coming together. And again, maybe to put it in contrast with the full moon in Capricorn a month ago, is that the full moon in Capricorn a month ago was the initial spark of like, okay, I'm starting to figure out how to put all this stuff together. The full moon in Aquarius is I don't know, this isn't the right way. This isn't a great way to put it, is like the depth of that spark and that answer being more fully fleshed out, right? So it's like we had a peak at the full moon in Capricorn. Oh, this good thing can happen and this can happen in this way. And then finally the full moon in Aquarius is the major download of all of it coming here. And I think that can be partially true because I think Aquarius in some ways is the gate between the subconscious and the conscious minds. And I think, or Uranus is, which correlates to Aquarius. And so I think that there can be that things that have been hidden in our subconscious mind that we've only seen a little of or seen a part of, the gates are now coming down and we're able to see the fullness of things we didn't see before, or didn't know before, or didn't understand before. So full moon in Capricorn gave us a peek of good things to come. Full moon in Aquarius is giving us the whole picture, the whole story of what's to come and how to get there, even though we still have to do it after this point and take the action and steps towards it. Okay, so I think that's it. Now what I want to do is I'm going to look at your inside degrees. They weren't written by me, but they were written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from spirit. So we're going to look at that because I think that his insight is unique and helpful. So I'm going to do that. The full moon in Aquarius is at 16 degrees Aquarius, but we need to note that the planets are in motion. And because of that, I think that the degree before, of, and after can all be relevant. So we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to start with 15 degrees Aquarius to give us more information. You can follow along with me on the screen, or you can pause the video, whatever you'd like to do. We've got 15 Aquarius. It says, you feel propelled into a self-consistent thematic existence with a characteristic flair or touch, stuck with being a certain way and following this out to the end. The mind is logical, rational, and linear. The life is the same. Okay. I feel like this, to me, if I can be honest, indicates the past, the past few years. I think the past few years, it's been like the same. Like we've wanted so much change and so many, and some things have changed, yet so much has felt the same of like, I can't really ever quite get out, or like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backward. I think that's been a lot of the past year that's happened. Okay. Let's go on. It says, yet what happens to you along the way is that so many pasts and so many futures wander through that the basic karmic pattern of holding true to a fixed nature is counterpointed by intimations, overtones, and undertones of everything but that. Okay. So not only do I feel like this inside degree is saying that like over the course of the past few years, we've kind of been stuck wanting change and some change happening, but weirdly still feeling stuck in the same and never quite moving forward. But that through that process of us feeling stuck, there's been so many pasts and futures and ideas and karmic patterns that have happened during that time. that have been frustrating, right? That sounds frustrating to me. That has not been that easy. Okay. And it says you cleave tightly to a purposive track while almost flooded with alternatives and diversions, a rock-like nature, ego-driven, mentally compulsive, yet peripherally open to the wildest array of worlds. You are someone who cannot stop doing and saying the same things in the same ways, and it can go on just about forever. Okay. Yet inside of that, you have virtues and gifts galore, held for the indefinite future, cautiously, prudently, and discouragingly. So I think that what else this is saying, right? The past few years, we've kind of been stuck. Things are kind of changing, but mostly staying the same, weirdly, staying the same weirdly. I think a lot of things have changed, but there's been an emotional state that's kind of stayed the same. And that has created a lot of like challenging feelings, thoughts, experiences that have been kind of karmic, that have been hard. And the reason why those things have happened that have been hard is to flood us with an alternative, to show us that we don't have to keep living the way we've always been living, and that we can live differently, and to open our mind up to different things. Okay. Not only do I want to note that about this degree, but I also want to note before I move on to the next one that if this isn't some of you, right, just feeling stuck, right, and trying to move forward, this can also indicate some people actually willingly being stuck, right? I think there are some of you who are like, no, I want to move forward. I want to make changes in my life. And that's still being hard to do because we still have a lot of attachments to the past that we needed to work through and all of that. But this could also indicate that there literally have been some people, in our lives, in the world, who do not want to change, who've been refusing to change over the course of the past few years as well. That's been really hard for them too, and maybe haven't been doing some of the work in order to get here. Okay. If there's people who've been refusing to change, maybe just a thought on that. If there's been people who've refusing to change, then I have a few thoughts. Maybe they won't get these insights that they need at this time. Maybe those insights won't come to them. Okay, they'll need to revisit some things. Or if the insights don't come to them, maybe for those people who've been refusing to change, there will be something unexpected, an unexpected insight, but it will feel challenging to wake them up. Aquarius will do that, to wake them up out of the things they've been resisting and to force them to change. Right? Because change is the only constant here in the world in life. Change, we have to force them to change. So it could be that. But if you've been following along with my horoscopes, this should be something that happens more spontaneously. That is very welcome. But if you haven't been changing, right, either you won't get the insights or you'll be forced by a negative external event to make you be different. And move on. All right, let's now go to 16, Aquarius, which is the actual degree of the full moon. It says technical proficiency across a broad spectrum of forms and ways, knowing how to do just about anything. You are involved with the precise combinations in a dazzling display of capacity. You seek to find new ways, innovations, and fresh approaches, and yet you are steeped in tradition and ancient wisdom. Okay, so this to me is more now where we are, especially with this being the actual degree of the full moon. I feel like more now we're getting a proficiency and a knowledge of how to do anything, especially come out of the past and the things that have been keeping us stuck and move forward. And I like that precise combinations. I think we are the key, the code to unlock things. That's very good, and new ways and approaches. It says somewhat swept away with the whole enterprise, where the mere linear intelligence takes charge and views everything on its terms. Intent upon results, looking for proof, insistence that the objective, factual, practical realities are everything. You feel compelled by your vantage point to apply a fierce ideology to every manifest particular, seeing examples, variations, confirmations, and validations of the theory, the principle, the standpoint, driving home verbally, brilliantly, the argument. Okay, let's see. I'm still getting that this is good. I'm getting like fierce ideas. I'm getting like a drive from this degree, not only like the precise combinations, the key, the code, and how to unlock things in our lives, but I'm getting a lot of fierce like drive in order to do that coming from these sentences. Okay. Fierce drive to do it. Let's read on. It says, driving home verbally, brilliantly, the argument, caught in the dialectics of truth and falsehood, and comprehensively enclosed within a one-sided and self-justifying thrust of mind that is so good at playing this game that you will win and prevail, yet something is missing, much is denied. So I think the way I'm going to interpret this last few sentences is that we're getting the combination, we're getting the key, we're getting more of the drive to do it, but that there's still something missing, which is the actual doing of it. We need to actually do the ideas and put the ideas into action, which is going to take over the course of the next few weeks. Okay. There's also some thoughts here in this inside degree about like being trapped in your own mind and ideas and beliefs that are self-justifying. I don't know if I feel that as much because the inside degrees don't take into consideration all the other things that are going on. But if this does apply, it feels to me more of the people who have been resisting change. It feels to me more of the people who have been resisting, you know, learning the lessons of the past few years. They may be the ones that are, you know, still stuck. There's new ways being forced into new things, but their mind is still stuck in the past. That they're trying to self-justify. They're trying to self-justify things that, you know, aren't true or no longer true here. So that to me feels like it applies more to those people. Okay, and then we'll read Aquarius 17. It says, knowing what you know, being who you are, and going where you go with absolute autonomy, a complete world unto yourself, living out away from the unwelcome intrusions of alien perspectives, ornery, taciturn, eccentric, convinced that your own truth consciousness is the real thing and that very few others know what they are talking about. Okay, I think the way that I see this is after this full moon, this is us becoming more strong in our perspective and what we've learned over the years and what these insights are and what needs to be done in order to turn it around and hyper focused on that. I think that's the way I'm seeing it. If this, again, is for the other people, now I'm feeling called to talk about, right, two groups of people. If this is for the people who have been avoiding making the change, then this just looks like it's them maybe getting more stuck in their own false perceptions of things, an old traditional way of things that really no longer applies. And let's read on. It says, a highly distinctive mode of awareness. You seek to link ancient wisdom with future worlds, absolutely intent upon losing nothing in the translation. Rapidly convinced you must not concede unnecessary territory to the common mind of today. Acutely well-informed and voluminously knowledgeable, working for the future earth. You are supremely intolerant of compromises and latter-day confusion. So yeah, I think that's what I'm getting. And that really hits home the inside degrees, the two different tracks of people. Normally I mention it a little bit earlier in the video in my other notes section about two different groups of people and where they might be. But I didn't do it this time because sometimes that can be a little bit of a downer, but I guess I'm supposed to mention it. I do feel like there's two groups of people at this time. There are people who are ready to make changes in their life and who have been trying to make changes in their life, to be different, to do things differently. And this full moon in Aquarius is going to bring unexpected insights to crack the code, to give you the keys to finally unlock. The doors have been closed and been shut in your face, to finally move forward and overcome those things, and to give you more of the drive and the focus to do it, and the motivation and the stubbornness about it, so that you can finally make it happen. And for people who have not been doing the work that they've been needing to do, what can happen at this full moon in Aquarius is either they won't get any insights at all, or unexpected insights will happen, but there'll be uncomfortable insights that will force them to change, right? To be who they needed to change, to be that they were resisting changing, that will force them to change. And that instead of them going with the change, they may double down on their own delusions and illusions and stories that are not true, that they're going to have to work through, and that really are going to just fall apart as time goes on, because things are changing. Time is changing here too. So keep that in mind. It could also indicate some of that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull your card. Let me bring the chart back up. Right, there we are. I'm going to go ahead and pull your card, and then we'll be done here. So let's do that. Okay. I'm using the Practical Tarot today by Lisa Kessler, if any of you are interested. Okay, here we go. We've got the 10 of Pentacles reversed, and at the bottom of the deck, we have, the 9 of Cups upright. Interesting. What is this about? Well, the 9 of Cups is a very good card. I love this one. The cups are about emotions. The 9s usually do indicate some form of completion. This is obvious. She's very happy. This is one of emotional fulfillment. And so what this card makes me think is that there's something very good going on in the emotions and within ourselves internally at this time that's helping us to really complete a long chapter, complete a long journey, complete a long lesson. Look, she's literally coming home from a journey. She's like, it's been a long journey and I've learned a lot of lessons. And this is the home stretch. I'm finally so close to being home for the home stretch. So I'm feeling a lot of that, completing a cycle, completing a lot of lessons that are learned, finally coming home, not yet, over the course of the next few weeks, or to a place that feels like home, and being very happy about it. And look too at her, especially she's like singing, like the cups are like dancing above her head. Like she's singing and she looks like he's skipping or hopping on her way home. So I really like this card. Learning a lot of lessons from the past few years, especially emotionally, a lot of things clicking into place, especially emotionally here, which is finally bringing us bringing us to the finish line of where we need to be. That's meant to be a joyful experience, a fun experience of like finally feeling capable of like we can do it and of things happening, and to view it as such, right? We really need to view these next few weeks as like a good thing of like, we're coming home finally. And we're bringing a lot together, and like, it's all going to work, and like, we're being supported, and like, it's supposed to be a fun thing. Okay. Then we get the other card, the 10 of Pentacles reversed. This can indicate about our material reality with this being a pentacle. Tens can also be about completion as well. And so I think what I'm getting is that even though we're feeling good, right? It's the emotions are good. The physical reality is not so much. So even though we are feeling good, I think, and feeling like we're getting all the answers, we're on our way home, right? Home is in sight. We're coming home. It's the end result is so clear. It's there. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. And we're dancing and singing a song as we're moving forward. I think that there is still some frustration that physically, in the physical world, it hasn't manifested yet. So emotionally, we know the end is in sight. Physically, maybe we don't see it yet. And maybe we're a little frustrated that we have to take what we now know inside of us and bring it out into the physical world to kind of make it manifest. So there can be some of that, right? Because feeling something, right? Feeling that I'm so close to the finish line, I'm almost home, is very different than like, okay, I got to get up today and I got to do this thing, and then I got to do that thing, and then I got to fix this, right? They're kind of different. And so maybe we're having some frustration there. And maybe not only are we having frustration there, but we're having problems marrying the two. We're having problems at taking this very hopeful place that we're in, where we feel the future in sight and the good things occurring. We're having problems applying this good feeling to our daily life and to our daily practice. And we need to kind of figure out how to marry the two, how to do the things you need to do to finally fix everything that's been keeping you stuck, but from a very joyful place, and to do both. And we might also need to figure out how to keep that in mind, because it's possible we may lose this at some points, right? While we're trying to fix things in our physical environment, we may every once in a while come out of this good emotional place. And I think there's also a need as well to hold on to that, to what your emotions are feeling. If your emotions feel like you're onto an idea and this idea is good, to hold on to that more consistently and to not lose that, and to not even let yourself get talked out of it, because sometimes the pentacles can be so realistic of like, oh, doesn't that realistically make sense? So another theme could be as well of our emotions know we're finishing this thing and we're reaching a major completion point, a major celebration moment. But then maybe when we actually do the work, maybe we get discouraged because they're two very different things, to feel it and to do it. And then maybe we're talking ourselves out of it and doubting, oh, we just feel like something good's going to happen. It's not actually true. It's not, we're fooling ourselves. And there's a need to hold on to the good feeling and to believe. Because again, everything I think is created internally before it's created externally. So if you believe something good's going to happen, and if you feel it, then it is going to happen. As long as you keep that in mind, as long as you hold on to that and not get discouraged by some of these other things that are occurring. Another thing too about the tens, right? Tens can actually indicate excess. Like the nines are completion. Actually, the tens are like over excess. So another thing that might be going on too is that maybe some of you are like, I don't know if I want to say have your expectations too high when it comes to your physical reality, or maybe some of you are over I don't know, overdoing things. There could also be like a bit of that's going on, especially when it comes to your physical reality. Maybe you're looking at that like, oh, I'm not going to be successful unless I have like 500 things, unless I have this thing happen in my physical reality, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing. And that could also be part of the problem. And part of the advice, this is not going to sound right, but could be like to lower your expectations about what is going to happen. And it's not because you're not going to have great things happen in your life. I think there's going to be great things, amazing things that are going to happen over the course of the next few weeks, months, years, whatever. But it's that sometimes when you expect things to be a certain way, you don't let spirit take them in the way they're meant to be, right? Sometimes when you're so fixated on like something has to be this way, it can only be this way, then you miss the miracle, you miss the magic, you miss something else that you're trying to learn that's trying to come to you. So I think the thought here too is that some of you might have too stiff expectations about what you want to happen in your life and how you want it to happen, that's stopping the fun, the excitement, the enjoyment, the emotions from flowing and the good things from coming in, and that you might either need to lower or change. And Aquarius can be about our expectations too. Change our expectations to be one that's more harmonious with what's trying to happen, more fun, that honors more of your emotions as well. And that some of you may need to stop overdoing it, right? Especially we're getting an eclipse in Virgo coming up, which can be about perfectionism on the South Node. So it's like, there's also a need to stop being perfectionistic about it and stop trying to be an overachiever, like things are meant to happen in their own way and in their own time. And sometimes those things are the most beautiful things. Sometimes things that you don't plan, or sometimes things that, have little mistakes in them or whatever, are the most beautiful and interesting things, because that's life. Being perfect is not real, right? Being perfect is not real. And sometimes it's that realness that makes it good. So I think there's also a thought there. We feel like we're on our way to greatness, and we are. Something very beautiful is going to happen. We're almost home. We feel like we're almost home. We're almost there. And like, this is going to be a really exciting journey to get there. And part of us is having fun and leaping towards it. But then another part of us is getting frustrated by the action in the real world it's going to take. When we actually start to do the things in the real world, and maybe talking ourselves out of this good feeling that we're having when we need to believe in it more, and then trying to overdo things or do too much or be too perfectionistic about it, instead of just letting spirit help and letting things unfold in the way they're meant to, which I think is actually going to be more magical than your idea and expectation of what you think that it should be here, and to allow, right? Because that's another thought here too. Maybe some of you for the past few years since 2020 have wanted something good to happen in your life in one way, and spirit actually wants it to happen in another way. And you need to allow that. You need to allow that to happen and not let your own ideas and thoughts get in the way of what's needs to come here. And also to trust more of your emotions and what you're feeling instead of your logical mind in order to make this happen, because the emotions are really going to lead the way to help you with all of that. Okay. And that's it. That's what I'm going to say. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. If you liked it, please like my video, share, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you 2 weeks from now at that new moon in the sign of Virgo. Have a good one.